A triad is a specific kind of a chord that has three notes, and there are four types of triads which we will be concerned with. First, going to show you how to recognize and how to spell a major triad. So this is going to be major, the abbreviation for major being the uppercase M. There are three notes involved in a triad. There's a root. It's called the root because that's what everything grows from. Everything else in the triad is based off of the root. There's the third, and there's the fifth. There's always a root, a third, and a fifth in a triad. Okay, so a major triad looks like this. Actually, all triads, when they're in closed form, look like this. It looks kind of like a stoplight or a snowman, where it's three notes stacked on top of each other. If the first one is in a space, the rest of them will be in spaces. If the first one's in a line, the rest of them will be on lines as well. A major triad is referred to as major mostly because of the interval between the root and the third of this major triad. So here are the members of this triad: root, third, and fifth, F, A, and C. The distance between the root and the third in a major triad is a major third. That's what gives it its major quality. The distance between the outer members of the triad, the root and the fifth, is a perfect fifth. So a major triad is built with a major third and a perfect fifth. Some people like to refer to triads as stacked thirds, and you can do this. I don't recommend it, but I'll show you how to do it. So like this. A major triad is a major third with a minor third stacked on top of it. However, it's easier to think about it in this way, with the major third between the root and the third and the perfect fifth being the outer members. A minor triad, I'll put right next to it. I only have to change one note to turn this into a minor triad. I'm going to make the A an A flat instead of an A natural. Now the interval between the root and the third is a minor third instead of a major third. That's what makes this minor. And because we didn't change anything on the outer notes, it's still a perfect fifth. That's the difference between a major and a minor triad, is the distance from the root to the third. Both of them have a perfect fifth between the root and the fifth. The major is major, minor is minor. The other two types of triads, a little bit less common, that are not major and minor, are diminished and augmented. Diminished being just a little bit more common than augmented, but we will run across them from time to time. So this was our major triad. This was our minor triad. I'm building them all off of an F. This is a diminished triad. F, A flat, and C flat. Just as we had in the minor triad, the distance between the root and the third is a minor third, but now the distance between the root and the fifth is a diminished fifth instead of a perfect fifth. That's what gives this its diminished quality, the diminished fifth between the root and the fifth. The augmented triad, I'm going to start with a major triad again, F, A, C, and instead of it being a C natural, I'm going to make it a C sharp. And as we saw in the major triad, a major third between the root and the fifth, and then an augmented fifth. In the outer members, that's what makes this augmented. So if you notice that the root to the fifth is not a perfect fifth, it's neither major or minor. It has to be diminished or augmented. And it's the quality of the fifth that will determine the quality, whether it's diminished or augmented. Okay, so let's try some other triads now. That's basically it. Once you understand those concepts, this actually gets quite easy. So let's say in an assignment you're given a B flat, and it says that this is your root and you need to spell a minor triad. So a B flat minor triad is what you need to spell. And we're going to make it in closed position. Closed position means that the notes are as close as possible, and that's all that we're doing right now, is where the notes are stacked exactly on top of each other. All triads in closed position look like this. Stoplight, snowman, however you want to refer to it, that's what they all look like. Now in a minor triad, we need to have the interval of a minor third from the root to the third. From B flat to D is a major third. So that's not going to work. This is not a minor third, so we have to change something. We can't change the root because that was already given. So we have to somehow turn this into a minor third. And that's pretty easy. Because it was major, with a D natural, we make it smaller by putting a flat in front of the D, and then it becomes a minor third. The interval from B flat to F is a perfect fifth. Now it's a minor triad. So a B flat minor triad is spelled B flat, D flat, F. All right, now let's say that you have a root of D sharp. And you have to spell a major triad. From a D sharp. First step would be to put your other notes, make your snowman, head, body, feet, or whatever a snowman has at the bottom, and we need to make this a major third. Right now, from a D sharp to an F is not only not the distance of a major third, that's actually a diminished third from D sharp to F. If we put a sharp in front of the F, that's going to be a minor third, so that's not going to work because we need a major third. Make it higher than an F sharp, and it becomes an F double sharp. That's now a major third. Then we need a perfect fifth out here. Turn that into an A sharp. So this is a little bit more complicated than the others that we've seen, but a D sharp major triad is D sharp, F double sharp, and A sharp. Okay, now let's try building some triads from other members. So we saw these starting with the root. What if you have a C, and that is the third of a diminished triad? So what you have to do is you have to imagine almost as if you're standing on that third and you're looking at your surroundings. What's to your left? What's to your right? Where's the root going to be? Where's the fifth going to be? First step is always to write your notes down, and then you put accidentals afterwards. Triads at first will always look like this. When they're in close position, always will be like this. Now we need to, because this is a diminished triad, have a minor third between the root and the third, and a diminished fifth between the root and the fifth. This C needs to stay a C because that was the given note. We can't change that. Now it happens to be that A to C is already a minor third, so we don't have to do anything. But A to E is a perfect fifth. We need a diminished fifth, so we need to make this closer. That makes this a diminished fifth. So the C would be the third of a diminished triad. Let's do an augmented. How about you're given, let's make this a little bit more complicated. You're given a G flat, which is the fifth of an augmented triad. First step, draw your notes, and then put accidentals. We need to have an augmented fifth between the root and the fifth here. G flat to C is a diminished fifth. If we make this a C flat, that's a perfect fifth. It's still not big enough. So we actually need to make this a double flat, in order to turn this into an augmented fifth. It's the only way that we can do that. You can't change this into a B flat. You notice that C double flat and B flat are enharmonic equivalents. They sound the same on the piano keyboard. But this has to be a C flat, because if it's a B flat, that's going to be a sixth. And this needs to be some sort of a fifth. I know it seems kind of strange, because you may wonder, well, it sounds the same, but this is indicating the function of this note. It's indicating that this is the root. If it's a B flat, you don't really have any indication of what the function is. Okay, so C double flat will be our root. This is pretty complicated. You won't see this very often, but you do need to be aware of this. So we now have our outer members. This needs to be a major third from C double flat to the third. If you take the double flat away and imagine that this is just a C natural, C to E is a major third. So if we put the same accidental, I'm going to be pretty crowded here, that's why I was erasing over here. If we put the same accidentals, this will still be a major third. The relationship remains the same because they have the same accidentals. So C to E was a major third. C double flat to E double flat is a major third. So we have a major third and a perfect, or sorry, not a perfect fifth, but an augmented fifth, because this is an augmented triad. Let's just double check our work, and if this is correct, we should have a major third with another major third stacked on top of it. If you did the math and you looked at what an augmented triad looks like, it's two major thirds stacked together. So E double flat to G flat should be a major third. If you imagine, I'm just going to take this space up here, I'm going to take it down an octave. Actually, let me not even do that. E to G is a minor third. Because that was a minor third, that would mean this is a minor third, because the accidentals remain the same. E flat to G flat is a minor third, but it needs to be a major third without changing the G flat. We have to increase the distance between the two pitches, E double flat. This is about as complicated as the triads can get. So if this seemed a little bit confusing, you will not run across this very often. But you do need to be aware of the relationships between all of the pitches in a triad. Just really quickly, let's review the four types of triads: major, minor, diminished, and augmented. The distances between the root, the third, and the fifth. So between the root and the third in a major triad is a major third. And between the root and the fifth is a perfect fifth. This is what gives it its major quality. A minor triad is a minor third, also has a perfect fifth. These aren't distinguishing the triads. They're both perfect fifths, so it's the minor third that distinguishes this. Distance between the root and the third in a diminished triad is a minor third with a diminished fifth. Between the root and the fifth, major third, augmented fifth in an augmented triad. The intervals which are circled are the ones that distinguish these intervals or these chords qualities. So those are the important ones.